Woo! Fell down the rabbit hole tonight of one-hit wonders. There's a lot of one-hit wonders out there. It's amazing how many songs there are that are just one and done. It's pretty funny. Hi, how's everyone doing tonight? I'm that guy. Right. Me. The guy in the van. Which at some point is going to get old, so I'm going to have to come up with something new. I'll work on that, promise. Anyway, welcome to episode 124. 124 days of this craziness that I've been down here in my small cavern of a studio with Star Wars elements and just stuff. So yeah, I fell down the rabbit hole of the one-hit wonders. The one that got it started was from 1982, the band Musical Youth. Now, do you remember Musical Youth? You do, because you knew the song, and it actually went to number one, okay? It was a single in the UK charts, and it was Pass the Dutchie. Pass the Dutchie on the left-hand side. Pass the Dutchie. Remember that crazy song? Right, that actually went to number one. That was a one-hit wonder. Apparently, it was British boys, 11 to 16 years old, that sung this song. I mean, that's who it really was. So that's why it was Musical Youth. Now, the song was a cover, apparently. Okay, the cover was from the Mighty Diamonds song, Pass the Coochie. Now, I guess coochie is, in fact, a reference to a cannabis smoking pipe. Shocking. I know. And they changed the lyrics because they didn't want the censors to basically ban it for drug references, especially with kids singing it. Of course, that was lost on no one, and everybody understood exactly what the reference of Pass the Dutchie on the left-hand side was, as opposed to Pass the Coochie, which I just found to be hilarious that they changed the word so slightly just to fool the censors. So fooled. No one got the reference. Anyway, that was the one-hit wonder on this day. 1925, Josephine Baker performs for the first time in Paris, France. She performed, I'm going to butcher it, the La Revue Negre at the Theatre de la Champs-Élysées. I think I did okay. 1967, all members of the band from the Grateful Dead were arrested. All of them. Every single one. It happened at 710 Ashbury of Haight-Ashbury by a narcotics officer who found them all of them in possession of marijuana. I mean, San Francisco, 1967, narcotics agents arresting the Grateful Dead for possession. I mean, really? I'm shocked by that somehow. Okay. I mean, really? Like, it was everywhere. How are they arresting someone for it? Especially the Grateful Dead. Someone tipped them off, I'm sure. Come on. I mean, it just seems a little peculiar. 1990. See, remember, I jumped decades. Just 67 to 1990. There is no rhyme or reason to the timeline because it just goes from 1925, 1967, 1990. Just keep that in mind. So if you're like, that makes no sense, it doesn't make sense. It's not supposed to. It's just where I find this stuff as I dig and claw through this musical history mess. So 1990, Radio Berlin International has its final transmission linked to the Deutsche Welle of West Germany. The final song they play is The End by The Doors. Wah, wah, wah. Yes, that was basically pirate radio. And again, the government, once again, just like BBC One did to the pirate radio station, and then basically took it over. They became the new pirate radio station, but it was BBC One. Like I said, I've heard that story somewhere else. A little too close to home. 1995, the band Oasis releases its second album, What's the Story? Morning Glory. It debuts at number 1 and it sells, ready for this one, 387,000 copies in the first week alone. That's a lot, okay? That's a lot in 1 week. 387,000 copies. To date, it sold 18 million worldwide, which again was like, whoa. It was awarded by the Brit Awards in 2010 as the best Brit album of the past 30 years. Again, that it came out and we all listened to a lot of that. And, just finishing their tour, we talked about last night how much money the ticket company made when they originally said tickets would sell for around $200 and sold for almost $475. You do the math. We'll see what the numbers are at the end, but I'm sure it's in the hundreds of millions of dollars that the band made on this. Being that we know that the ticket platform executives made at least $36 million. Just the executives made $36 million from bumping the prices up on the tickets. Record execs. Anyway, in 2001, the TV show Scrubs, see, I'm just jumping. The TV show Scrubs premieres, but still, we still have to see Zach Braff hacking cell phones and internet service today. I mean, dude, isn't it time to stop? It was 2001. It was 24 years ago that show premiered. And people still want you to be talking about whatever it is, T-Mobile internet. Bro. I mean, if you can get to work, why not, right? On this day in 1959, Rod Serling's anthology, the series Twilight Zone, appears. And it went from 1959 to 1964, and he did 156 episodes. He wrote 90% of those himself without the help of other writers. How crazy is that he came up with all those stories? It came back in 1985 and 89. It did 66 more episodes. In 2002 and 2003, did 43 more episodes, sans Sterling, but still kept that. It had the movie where, of course, the actor and child was killed while filming. And it's interesting because Sterling was very politically active. And what it said was, in the bio I was reading, that he used sci-fi to basically be the vehicle to talk about nuclear war, McCarthyism, and mass hysteria. So a lot of the episodes had these very deeply charged political underpinnings that he basically just snuck it around the censors because, well, it's sci-fi. It's not real, but he apparently made some of these very close to home, really timely for some of the events that were going on in the world at the time. So it's very interesting if you go back and sort of look at what some of the episodes were, because I kind of, like I said, fell down the rabbit hole tonight on some of these things. Rod Serling's a very interesting guy, very deeply into the sort of politics of getting this information out subversively through sci-fi. Who knew, right? I just thought it was a good show, as everything everybody else did. 2015, we talked about him the other night. Mr. Randy Quaid is arrested in Vermont after coming out of Canada, along with his wife, Evie. Apparently, he was wanted on, ready for this one, fugitive charges stemming from a 2010 vandalism arrest in California, where supposedly he was found squatting in a house that he used to own. And his wife, Evie, was also charged, not with squatting, but she had her own warrants out for her arrest. Yes, we talked about Randy Quaid and his craziness. The Vermont judge held him on bail and then released him, unbeknownst to the California judge, who said, no, he still deserves to be arrested. He was on a $50,000 bond at the time. So I couldn't find much more information about that, but yes, it seems Randy Quaid, basically. And the picture they showed, he looked like David Letterman with this giant ass white beard and this crazy look on his face. Like, I was like, Randy Quaid. There you go, buddy. I think the, Independence Day alien abduction might have been real. Just saying. In 1960, see, we're just going 2015, right back to 1960. The song Stay, at 1 minute and 37 seconds long, by Marcel Williams and the Zodiacs, enters the charts and eventually becomes the number one song. Okay? With doing so, this song at 1 minute and 37 seconds becomes the shortest number one song in history. To this day, no song has made it to number one on the singles charts that's shorter than that. And if you don't remember that song, it's like, why don't you stay just a little bit longer? That one. Oh, speaking of crazy people, convicted murderer Phil Spector, along with his musical partner Lester Sill, released their first album on the new label Phillies. The Crystals, Oh Yeah, Maybe Baby, and Just One Love. They had their number one hit with He's a Rebel. They also had hits with the Do Run Run, the Do Run Run Run, the Do Run Run, and Then He Kissed Me. He actually also had 5 number one hits, including The Righteous Brothers that he produced, You've Lost That Loving Feeling, as well as The Long and Winding Road by the Beatles, of all things, and My Sweet Lord by George Harrison. He also produced that. So while he was a musical genius when it came to producing, he was a crazy person. And again, eventually was convicted of murder after killing an actress with a gun. And he wound up dying in prison. If you saw any of the spectacle of it, he was definitely a crazy man. The rumors of Phil Spector waving guns around was legend. We had somebody else who talked about, unfortunately, about waving guns around. I'll jump to that now. That happened with Mr. Adam Ant, unfortunately. Good old Adam Ant was arrested and narrowly escaped conviction of a long prison sentence in 2002. Apparently, a judge released him and found him acquitted after an incident that occurred in a London pub where a good old Adam Ant was waving around a replica gun saying he was going to shoot people. They found him to be, unfortunately, have serious mental issues, and he voluntarily sought treatment and has ever since. I kind of knew that about Adam already, but yeah, unfortunately, he had to seek for real medical help because the judge was going to throw him into jail for a really, really long time. Because you can't do that. Can't wave guns in bars and say, I'm going to shoot you, just like you shouldn't be yelling fire in a crowded theater. It causes riots. And we'll get to that one too. That one happened at a Pearl Jam concert. Yeah. That one happened in... Wait, hold on. I got to find where that one is. Sorry. I'm going way out of order tonight. I'm not even like keeping like my sense of order. I don't even know where it went to. Oh, well, I'll have to come back to it. 1965, October 2nd, Hang On Sloopy goes to number one. Yes, I know. By the band The McCoys. It was a single that was first released by The Vibrations as My Girl Sloopy. I'll have to hear that on Saturday because it's an Ohio State home football game and they'll be playing that song relentlessly and endlessly on loop everywhere. At some point you get to hear it. You don't get to avoid hearing that song on Football Saturday in Columbus, Ohio, ladies and gentlemen. So if you do not like the song Hang On Sloopy by the McCoys, do not visit Columbus, Ohio on a home football Saturday because you're going to be subjected to that song at least on one occasion. Guarantee it. 1970, Pink Floyd released their 5th album and their first UK number one. Atom Heart Mother. The original album cover was a cow in a field with no text and no indication at all of what the actual album had inside or what was on the album. Apparently, Storm Thorgerson, I love that name, Storm Thorgerson, the photographer, thinking about Andy Warhol's cow wallpaper at the time, drove out to a middle of a rural part of London in Potter's Bar, England, and took a picture of the first cow he saw, and that became the album cover. I mean, so if you're a photographer and you take pictures of things, hey, you never know. You might just find yourself as the album cover aficionado of some major act someday, just taking a random picture of a cow in a field or, I don't know, something else. End my stream. No, stop it. Stop dropping on this thing. Good Lord. 1971, Rod Stewart's Maggie May is number one, starting on a 5-week trend, October the 2nd, 1971. It's his first solo number one. Simultaneously, though, also on this date in 1971, he also starts his number one 4-week run of album of Every Picture Tells a Story. So he had the number one single and the number one album, both in the US and the UK, simultaneously. Again, you got to love that, good old Rod. This one's kind of screwed. I was like, really? 1977. On this day, October 2nd, Elvis Presley and his mother were exhumed from the cemetery in which they were buried. They were then moved to Graceland for repatriation. This all occurred due to thieves attempting to steal the corpse of both Elvis and his mother and their coffins. They were thwarted while attempting to do this. Okay, I mean, you know, that's creepy. I want to have the dead king in my house. Ladies and gentlemen, may I present Elvis? Thank you very much. I mean, whoa. All right. I mean, there's fans and there's fans. I guess that's a fan. 1981, The Police are number one in the UK with their LP Ghost in the Machine. It's their third number one LP, and this one came out with 3 top 10 singles. Everything She Does Is Magic, Invisible Sun, and Spirits in the Material World. Those are all actually good songs. I flipped on a couple of them. I was like, yeah, you got to believe in the invisible sun. It brings its heat to everyone. 1982, Peter Gabriel and Steve Haddett, former bandmates of Genesis, for a one-time benefit concert, all meet back up to help raise money for Peter Gabriel's charity, WOMAD, the World of Music, Art, and Dance. Now, that's the I think, one of the very first big musical festivals that I went to when they performed here in like 1992. And I've told this story before, but they played at Buckeye Lake. At the time, it was Lenny Kravitz, Sinead O'Connor, the Drummers of Burundi, Peter Gabriel, and there was some other artists on this thing. And so we were invited to go out there at the radio station when we were CD 101. And this was very early in the days. I think it was 92 or 93. I always forget to look up the dates, but it's one of those. And the program director and myself went out there. This is when I was the promotions guy. And we drove a Winnebago out there. And we rented it, and we turned it into sort of the broadcast studio so we could do recordings and have the artists backstage and everything else. So while hanging out there, we were given the permission to meet Peter Gabriel and do an interview with him. Well, the program director at the time was a Peter Gabriel fan, very big fan, and became very excited about the prospect of doing this and basically said, I can't go do anything else today. I just need to prep to meet Peter Gabriel and do my interview. So I was like, okay, well, you have to go do all the stage announcements today. And I'm like, okay. So the first bands went on at 11 o'clock in the morning. And this is Buckeye Lake. This is Legend Valley. It's a big, big venue. The stage is, 20, 30 feet off the ground, and it's just this huge, huge field. And so basically, I get up there and I'm wearing my houndstooth overcoat and my very stylish hair that I still have at this point. And I'm like, how's everyone doing this morning? And I, literally, it was like, woo. I was like, yeah, I know. I'm hungover too. It'll get better. It's going to be a long day. Have a great show. Here's whatever band it was. I forget. I'd have to look at the lineup. But it was like, woo. So throughout the day, I'm doing stage announcements. I'm the one getting on stage and introducing every single band. At one point, we're backstage, and the band, the Drummers of Burundi, are from Burma, okay? From Swaziland, okay? They don't speak English. They've got an interpreter there. Now, in college, I had taken, some language classes, but I needed some credits for a language course. So I took Swahili. I was basically told you have to learn 140 words. It's real easy. 2/4 of it, you're done with your language credit. And I was like, perfect. See, gesticulating. And once again, the lid was on tonight. So I was like, perfect. I can do this. So I knew Swahili. So here's the band backstage, and I hear them talking, and I walk up and I say, hodi hodi. And they all look at me I was like, Jumbo. And they're like, Sodi Jana. So one of the guys, the interpreter comes over and he goes, you speak my language. I'm like, yeah, actually, I know Swahili. That's what I took it in college. And proceeded to have a conversation with him and this group of young men, the drummers of Burundi, in Swahili. Now, this occurs at the moment that Peter Gabriel sort of walking by and just stops and watches me have this conversation with this group that he brought. He couldn't speak to them. He had to use the interpreter. No one could speak to them. They all had to use this one interpreter. And I'm basically sitting there having this conversation about a lovely day, how they enjoying the country, how they doing. Everyone's so excited and that I'm able to speak to them. And, because I'm fluent in English. And like I said, Swahili was kind of an easy blow-off language. So basically hanging out there with Peter Gabriel and then Sinead O'Connor, Lenny Kravitz. We wound up hanging backstage with Lenny Kravitz in his dressing room, sitting cross-legged on beanbag chairs, eating rice, Chinese food out of styrofoam packages. Lenny was like, want to get high? And I'm like, probably shouldn't do that. And basically proceeded throughout making the announcements through the entire day until I'm literally introducing Lenny Kravitz on stage in front of 40,000 people, and people are chanting, Randy, Randy. I'm like, what's up, everybody? After being there the entire day, people got to know me because I was the guy in between every band before and after. So, yes, I have a very near and dear affiliation for WOMAD and Peter Gabriel's cause for that. Because it was sort of one of those crazy things that, I stood in front of 50,000 people while people chanted my name. And this was way before cell phones. So I've never found any photographs. I have the picture of me and Sinead O'Connor. And there's a picture of me and Peter Gabriel, but that's about it. I don't really have any other photographs that really show the day. It's all just sort of hearsay and just a testament to the craziness that occurred from the radio station back in the day. But anyway, that's my WOMAD story. Anyway, moving along, 1982, the band Dire Straits starts a 4-week run at number 1 with the UK album Love Over Gold. 1995, Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds release a duet, Where the Wild Roses Grow, with Kylie Minogue. It wins an ARIA award in 1996 for Single of the Year, Song of the Year, as well as Best Pop Release. I like Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. Here it is. Speaking of riots, 1996. Apparently Pearl Jam, while performing in Hartford, Connecticut, narrowly escaped the concert ending in an all-out melee and riot. A crowd of 30,000 was in a shed watching this when apparently a fence went down near the side of the stage. Security started to mace some of the patrons that were trying to come to the fence. By doing that, the wind was blowing and the wind blew the mace toward the seated audience in the lower pavilion. To escape the mace, they started pushing forwards toward the stage, which allowed the other patrons to then fill in the space behind it, knocking chairs over and basically becoming this very chaotic scene that they couldn't stop. I guess at one point, Ed was telling people to settle down, sit down, it's all cool. He asked security because people started to climb on stage and stage dive repeatedly, was telling people that, hey, it's better up here than down there. Everyone needs to calm down. You up in the lawn, go nuts, but everyone down here, settle down. Calling security to then say anybody that jumps on stage should not be allowed to come back on stage and do it 3 or 4 times, but they should be removed from the venue immediately, trying to quell the crowd further. They continued to play and at one point literally said, "Fuck the stage divers," and nearly stopped the show, while the melee then ensued in the front part of the stage. I mean, I don't know. You would think that you would stop the show and tell everyone to calm down, as literally they continued to play. At one point, even playing Chicago's 25-624. Just, you know what? We'll just calm down. We're going to keep playing, though. Just stop it as we continue to play. I don't know. I think that's at one point you go, all right, we're going to stop playing. Everyone settle down. But no. Keep playing. I'm sure it'll work out just fine for you. Speaking of bad karma, 2001 actor Kevin Spacey hosted a John Lennon come together night in the famed Radio City Music Hall. I was thinking about the Rockettes. The famed Radio City Music Hall in New York City. In attendance was Alanis Morissette, Moby, Stone Temple Pilots, Dave Matthews, and in the end, they all got together on stage and sung "Give Peace a Chance." Okay, good job, Kevin. Why you did that, I don't know. Needed some good PR at the time? I'm not sure. We talked about Adam Ant, narrowly escaping jail. Oh, man, I looked down. See, 2 seconds, I look away, and what happens? The camera clicks off. All I had to do was not look down. I would have seen it and been like, no. On this day in 2003, Queen, the band Queen, is in the news because a pair of pants worn by Freddie Mercury in 1984 sold at Christie's in London at an auction for approximately $5,000 to the Hard Rock Cafe. There was also tons of other memorabilia from the Beatles, Jimi Hendrix, The Doors, and of course Queen. The item that sold the most that day was a small wooden cabinet sculpture by John Lennon, which sold for $35,000. Hey, look, John Lennon made this. Hey, these are pants by Queen. Okay. I would not be a good collector because, well, apparently I'm not, because I can't even keep my shit from people stealing it. So, just saying. And finally on this day, we'll get to births and deaths. In 2003, our good friend Courtney Love. She had the police called to her former boyfriend's home when a suspected burglary was going on. Love was found out front in the early hours of the morning in the street. The police noted that her behavior was consistent with persons on controlled substances and narcotics. Love was arrested for said, and then very shortly afterwards taken to the hospital for a possible drug overdose. Oh, Courtney. Courtney. What are you going to do with you? We banned you for decades on the radio station because everyone blamed you for killing. Oh. You killed Kurt Cobain, and then we blamed you for it. So no more Courtney Love on the radio station for decades. I thought you got a bum rap, but that's all right. I still listen to you. I still think Live Through This was such a great album. Still do. Born on this day, Don McLean of the famed Bye Bye Miss American Pie. Drove the Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. Also born on this day was Frank Skip Court of Blue Image, which had the song Ride, Captain, Ride upon your mystery trip. Born this day, Sting, 74 today. There's a TV show that was the Only Murders in the Building with Steve Martin and Martin Short and Selena Gomez. Sting was in one of the episodes of it. It was just funny because he was just such a dick. He was just like, what? And I was like, I love that Sting about you. And I told the story about meeting his daughter. She performed at the Big Room Bar. She was very nice. And the thing was very creepy though, because the minute, if you didn't like look at her and you just listened, it was completely Sting. Like the voice was so, you were just like, whoa, that's crazy. She also starred in, she was in a movie. I forget which one it was. What movie was that? Anyway, she was in the movie and she was a rich kid's junkie daughter. Let's see. Philip Oakley of Human League, born on this day. Don't You Want Me, Baby? Now I'm going to butcher this name. It's like Sigurdur Baldursson from the Sugar Cubes. It's Icelandic. Come on. I can barely pronounce English names, let alone an Icelandic one. Okay. Floyd Bud Gaw of Sublime, born on this day. And Groucho Marx, famous Groucho Marx. Bud Abbott of Abbott and Costello. He was from Asbury Park, New Jersey. And Spanky from the Little Rascals, born on this day. So a bunch of comedians. Died on this day. We lost Nipsey Russell, comedian and actor. We also lost Rock Hudson of Ice Station Zebra fame. I remember that. Now, we talked about Gene Autry the other day. He was born on September 9th. He died on October 3rd. So he's one of those guys that died just after his birthday. Remember that extra 10% of people that do that? He fell into that category. The Singing Cowboy also owned, I said what, he owned a baseball team, the Angels or St. Louis something. And yeah, he was a rich guy. Smart too, apparently. And then, of course, on this day, and I didn't get to write down all the details of it, but Tom Petty. Tom Petty died of an accidental overdose on October the 2nd at 66 years old. Miss Tom Petty, liked Tom Petty. He was a good artist. Traveling Wilburys was good with him and Roy Orbison. And he had a lot of good songs, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. So we fairly well miss Mr. Tom Petty on this day, October 2nd, the anniversary of his passing. What can you say? Let's see. That was a reasonable amount of time. I kept it under Mach 10, only a little bit over 30 minutes tonight. Still had pilot error. I tried very hard not to do that, but I am seemingly unable to do that. I just can't get it to not do that. Tomorrow's Friday. I only know that today because the blue garbage cans were out today for recycling. I did miss putting mine out, so it is still filled with recycling. I'll have to deal with that tomorrow. Saturday is an Ohio State home football game that starts at 7:30 p.m. So what I'm going to have to do is my research early. I think the game lasts about 3 hours, so at 7:30, 8:30, 9:30, 10:30. So I'll have to get back from the game and then get right to here and have done the research during the day. So if I get back and I seem unprepared or ill-fitted to do this, you know why. I'm warning you ahead of time. That's why I'll be like, scrambling. I don't know where anything is. That'll be the complete and absolute reason for said poor service. It happens. I can't give 100% every day. Try my best. But I'm only human. Or try to be. And this is not the Human League. And I won't wave any guns around tonight. Promise. At least not for your entertainment. Right, because next time I get swatted. No, that's not happening. Thank you so much for being here. Yeah, I got nothing else. I don't even have any creative anecdotes to tell you. I just don't. I just don't feel like it tonight. So I will bid you a fond farewell and adieu. Enjoy your Friday. It's supposed to be another beautiful day tomorrow. Enjoy these sunny, beautiful, warm days while you can, because the winter of our discontent is coming. What do? We hit the little button and we fade to black. Thank you. Ride, Captain, ride upon your mistress ship. Ba-na-uh, ba-na-ba, ba-na-ba, ba-ba.